By now, you've probably seen or heard the Mayberry ads for their $5 billion bond that's out right now. It's open right now. And you may be wondering what this is all about and whether this investment may be right for you. I'm Kalilah Reynolds, and today we're going to be taking a look at Mayberry's big bond. So stay tuned. I am so pleased to have with me Senior Vice President of Investment Banking at Mayberry Investments, Dan Theoc. Hi, Dan.
Hey, Kalilah.
I've only seen you on YouTube, a big YouTube star, man.
Likewise.
Nice to meet you in person.
Same here.
To talk about this very big offer. Mayberry is raising $5 billion through this bond offer. First of all, just tell me what a bond is.
Okay, yeah, great. So a bond's a way a company or a country, for that matter, raises funds, and you create some sort of loan instrument, and it allows multiple note holders or investors to invest in that instrument. And the bond usually has a fixed maturity date and a specified interest rate and regular interest payment intervals.
All right, so tell me about the details of this bond. You mentioned fixed maturity date, interest rates. Let's go through it.
Yeah, sure. So Mayberry is trying to raise between $5 to $7 billion. And we're going to use those funds to fund our debt book, because we're also in the business of lending money to our clients. And we've got 4 different tranches of secured bonds. And this is a public offering, which means it's going to be open to the general public. There are 4 tranches. The first tranche is for 13 months, and that pays interest at the rate of 9.25% per annum. In all of the bonds, the interest is payable quarterly and then at maturity. The second tranche is for 18 months, and that pays interest of 10%. Again, interest is paid quarterly. The third tranche is for 24 months, and that pays interest of 11%. And the fourth tranche is for 36 months and pays interest at 12%. So the longer the tenure of the maturity period,
right,
the higher the interest rate.
The longer I let you hold my money, the more interest I will get.
The higher rate, absolutely. And all of the bonds will be fully secured. And it's by Mayberry, so you know it must be good. We're a company that's been around since 1985, publicly traded investment bank, and you can see all of our financial statements on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Plus there's a prospectus, which you can see either at www.bondberry.com or on the JSC's website.
So how does a bond work? If I give you my money and you're asking for a minimum of, is it $20,000?
$20,000 J for the public offering.
Let's say I give you $100,000
Yeah.
and I choose one of these tranches.
Yeah.
What happens to my money then?
Yeah, certainly. So another good thing about a bond and the way this is structured is there's going to be an independent trustee that oversees all of the administration. So they will trap all of the note holders who subscribed into the various tranches and ultimately give us the money, and then we'll be responsible to always pay the money over to them, to do our regular financial reporting to them. Quarterly, we have to share our financial statements, and are we complying with all of the financial covenants we promised under the notes? And then they would be responsible for paying that interest to all of the note holders on record quarterly. And then Mayberry will use that money quarterly.
Okay.
And Mayberry will use that money to grow its business in general as an investment banker.
How does it work for the first one, which is 13 months?
Yeah.
So how often do I get my
quarterly
payment?
So you get 5 payments in total, 4 quarters, and then
an extra one at the end?
Extra one at the end, that's exactly
Even
correct.
though it's not a full quarter?
It'd be 1 month's worth of interest that you would earn for that final period, the 13th month, yes.
Okay, and then at the end of the 13 months, do I get back all my money?
You get back all of your principal, right, plus that 1 month interest, and you know it's safe because it's with Mayberry. And your money will always be sort of, trapped very separately. And all of those monies that we receive, which we're going to on lend, will be secured by mainly equities. Most of the business we do today, good the loan coverage by equities. That's what we mostly do. We do a bit of real estate lending as well too, but our bread and butter is equities.
I see. Okay, so let's look at the 18 months option.
Yep.
I'm only using that because it's an easy number to calculate.
Yep.
It's 10% interest.
That's correct.
And if I'm putting in $100,000 over the 18 months, let's try to some quick maths here.
So $100,000 at 10% means you would earn $10,000 per annum. Divide that by 4, $2,500 per quarter.
Okay.
So you'd earn $2,500 every quarter for all 6 quarters, and then in the final quarter, you would get back your $100,000 principal as well too.
And why a bond at this time for Mayberry? A big firm, you had options. A lot of companies are have gone the IPO route,
Yes.
offering additional shares.
Yes.
Why have you decided to do a bond?
Yes. So, as an investment banker, we're always conscious of the fact that we think our clients need to be investing by asset class. So we do lots of equity business, and we're known as the IPO king because Mayberry Investments has done more IPOs than all of the other brokerage firms added up together.
Well known for the 1-minute IPOs, by the way.
Exactly. And we do a lot of bond work today. And last week I closed a $4 billion bond, but normally those are done to accredited investors only, right? It's sort of a big boys club. And an accredited investor is somebody who's earning $10 million per annum or has $50 million in assets. And usually the minimum investment in a exempt distribution or a private bond is 1 million Jamaican dollars. So all of the big banks do a lot of bond business, right? There's maybe 400 billion in bonds out there, but the big difference is it's almost always to these accredited investors. So we thought to ourselves, why don't we make this available for the average Joe who can write a check for $20,000, $100,000, maybe even $1 million. They probably have their money sitting down in a deposit account earning 2%.
Yeah.
Some people have it under the mattress because they're afraid. So here's a secured investment that pays great interest rates rather than you keeping your money in a savings account earning you 2-3% per annum when inflation's 6 to 8%. So we thought we wanted to come with something that we could offer to the general public as opposed to what we do every day, which is do it for accredited investors.
Right, and looking at the environment right now as well, the macroeconomic environment with BOJ raising those interest rates, it's a good time to add bonds to your portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the equity market is showing a little bit more volatility than usual because there's sort of an inverse relationship between PE ratios and interest rates. As interest rates have been going up, we've seen PEs coming down and therefore the value of equities. So some folks are feeling a little nervous. They've sold some stocks. They've just parked the money. It's sitting in cash. They're watching the market for a while. So here's a great way to park your money in a good investment stream in the meantime. And the great thing about these bonds, which are going to be listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, which means they're going to trade on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
They have a bond market.
Yes, they have a bond market, which only has 3 bonds traded on it today. So we're trying to come in and be what we always are. Like when we started, we were the first ones to list companies on the junior market. Today there are more than 40 odd companies. We've listed more than 20 of them. We're a market maker. That's one thing Mayberry does. So we have noticed that the bond market doesn't have much options. You don't see it trading with great liquidity. So here we are coming to provide a good solution. So when you buy that 18-month bond or 24-month bond, if you have a need or an emergency and you want to sell the bond before it matures, you can just sell it on the market where it trades.
I even forgot there was a bond market on the JSE. Yeah. You're absolutely right. So how does this compare? You're at 9.25 to a high of 12% interest rate. How does this compare with other options on the market?
Yeah, we think it's great. Again, other than what you see out there for accredited investors, and even then this is a little bit higher than what we typically see. There definitely isn't a market where somebody can invest less than $1 million Jamaican and earn 9.25 over 13 months. We've seen Bank of Jamaica doing big auctions where maybe their rate's around about 8% these days. But again, the average person can't access that type of funding without tens of millions of dollars. So we think this will be a great option for the average folks out there and for pension funds. I think we're going to have big institutional investors as well too. But most importantly, it opens up the door to the average person, which is what we like to do at Mayberry.
Right. You mentioned something earlier as to what the use of these proceeds are, and I want you to expand on that.
Sure.
So why is Mayberry looking for $5 to $7 billion? What you want to do with it?
Yep. So, I mean, if you've looked at Mayberry or followed us and looked at our financial statements, you'll see we've grown our balance sheet from $40 billion to $50 billion over the last year alone. It's because I'm out there lending and investing. We have a current loan book today in the region of about $8 billion. One of the biggest businesses we do is margin loans for our clients who have equities with us. And off balance sheet, we probably manage $60-70 billion of equities.
Explain what margin loans are.
So a margin loan is a client has $2 billion of equities with me, pick a stock, JMMB, Sagicor, a portfolio, and he wants to have effectively access to a bank overdraft or a line of credit where he can access that money within 2 days' notice. That client will park his $1 billion portfolio with me, we'll review it and agree I'll give you a $250 million line or a $300 million line. So we're secured 3 times over, 250% over. And then that client can just call us next week and say, hey, Dan, I need $100 million. I'm buying a house. And we'll do the loan for the $100 million because we know we got good security. He's an existing client. We know him. He's been with us for 10, 15 years. We have a good relationship. So almost all of the CEOs of listed companies come to us with their equities to have a margin facility with us because it's a good, quick facility that they can draw, no questions asked. Once we know what the equity is and we know who the client is, we're good to go.
You want to par with the big boys? This is how the big boys do it. Big money talking.
Absolutely.
Well, Mayberry, and I don't know how closely this arm of it is related, but you also do equity investments. You support business development. Is that part of what you want to do with these funds?
It's a part of the Mayberry group. So yes, this improves our ability to do loans. It improves our ability to underwrite transactions. It improves our ability to make private equity investments. A big part of what we do, whenever you see an IPO, we've probably been working with that client for 2-3 years before, giving them some loan funding, maybe taking a private equity position in that business until they mature maybe 2 years later, and then they can IPO, and then we can exit. So that's how Mayberry helps to bring companies to market. That's how we have our subsidiary MJE, Mayberry Jamaican Equities, which has over $20 billion of equities that we own outright. So we're one of the larger home run offices that have that type of portfolio. And so this is just to help make that ecosystem work.
Okay, so give us, how can we participate in this offer, Dan?
Good deal. So we've got several selling agents. So if you're not a client of Mayberry directly, then you can always go through one of the selling agents. And I think we have about 5 selling agents right now. That includes JMB, Scotia Investments, SSL, Proven, and I think Burrito's going to sign today. So we're going to have about 4 or 5 options. You can go to bondberry.com. You can go to Mayberry's website. Any of the participating brokers, you can go onto the Jamaica Stock Exchange, download the prospectus, make sure you read the prospectus, but there are lots of ways to invest and it's all electronic. So don't come with the cash. You need to go through one of these online portals by either Mayberry or one of our participating selling agents.
Just wire the money.
Wire the money.
Submit the application electronically.
Exactly.
That's how we do it in these times, yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
I wish you much success.
Thank you very much.
We'll look out for the announcement that you raised the $7 billion.
Yes, so we open on December 2nd and we officially close on January 6th. But of course, we have the right to close early if we end up being oversubscribed. So trying to get to $5 billion, we can upsize to $7 billion. I look forward to talking to you in a couple of weeks to see how it comes out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you heard Dan. The bond is open now. Don't watch the close date. Mayberry is notorious for closing early, especially if they are oversubscribed. And of course, you can visit my website, KalilahReynolds.com, for a summary of this episode. See you next time.
Jamaica, it's your time to make more with Mayberry Investments. Invest in Mayberry's Bond IPO. It's a safer way to invest that puts profit in your pocket. Invest on bondberryja.com. See prospectus for full details. Make more with Mayberry Investments.